on, Madam President, to talk about another very serious instance of government mismanagement, and that's what's going on in the Veterans Affairs Department. Madam President, almost every day, a new report surfaces of mistreatment or mismanagement at VA facilities across the country. At least 40 veterans have reportedly died because of delayed or inadequate care. And it is now clear that this is not an isolated problem at a few select locations, but a system-wide crisis. And it is a national embarrassment. Madam President, our contract with our servicemen and women is a sacred trust. They pledge their lives in the service of our country and take upon themselves the burden of defending liberty for the rest of us. In return, we promise them benefits, including health care and a college education. Our men and women in uniform uphold their end of the contract, sometimes at the cost of their own lives. For us to fail to uphold ours is a disgrace and a betrayal of their sacrifice. Mr. President, every resource of this administration should be focused on discovering the full scope of this problem and immediately starting to fix it. Yet this administration has shown a startling lack of concern about the widespread mistreatment of veterans in our country. When it became clear that his health care website was a disaster, the President employed an all-hands-on-the-deck approach to fixing the problem, spending hundreds of millions of dollars in the process. In response to the VA disaster, on the other hand, the President has dispatched just a single staffer to oversee the investigation. This is not acceptable. As Commander-in-Chief of our armed forces, the President should be leading the charge to fix this problem. But he hasn't even spoken publicly about it for weeks. But, Madam President, regardless of the President's inaction, Congress must take immediate steps to address this crisis. This week, the House of Representatives is taking up a version of Senator Rubio's bill, the Department of Veterans Affairs Management Accountability Act, which would allow the VA Secretary to fire or demote senior executives in the department when warranted. Private organizations can fire employees who fail to fulfill their responsibilities. We ought to be able to fire officials who fail in their obligation to our veterans. Yet all we've seen from the VA is the resignation of the Undersecretary for Health, Dr. Petzel, who was already planning to retire. Hardly the accountability that our veterans deserve. I've introduced a bill to require the VA's Inspector General to conduct a national investigation of the wait times veterans face. It's essential that we get an idea of the full scope of this problem so that we can ensure that it gets fully fixed. Under my bill, the Inspector General would have 6 months to investigate and submit a report to Congress. In the meantime, the VA would be forbidden from closing any of its medical facilities. No facility, not the Hot Springs facility in my state of South Dakota or any other, should be closed unless we make very, very sure that veterans' care is not going to be affected. There are other bills this body should be considering as well, including Senator Heller's bipartisan legislation to reduce the backlog of veterans' disability claims. And I hope the Senate will take them up quickly. Madam President, this crisis can't wait. There is every likelihood that right now, veterans around our country are still failing to receive the care that they need. And I hope the President of the United States will come to his senses and treat this situation with the seriousness that it deserves. But, Madam President, if he won't act, Congress must. It is the very least that we owe our veterans. Madam President, I yield the floor.